Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a story time. I always watch those on YouTube and I have so many stories that I could tell you guys. I think that you guys would enjoy this. This is a little bit different than my usual on my channel. So I have crazy stories, I have funny stories, I have unbelievable stories. So I figured what the heck, I would film a story time, and then if you guys like them, then I will go ahead and continue filming these kind of videos. So if you do like it, please give it a huge like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, I am hosting a giveaway. I'm not too sure if it's open or closed, but if it's still open, I will go ahead and link the video down below. And you could find all the details on that, on how to enter in that video that I linked down below. So anyways, I have a crazy story that I have in mind, and I figured I would start with this one first. When I was 15, this is actually a pretty crazy story. When I was 15, I worked at a company and I almost got raped. And it is so crazy how things work out for, I guess, the better, or however you want to say it. But pretty much, I don't know if any of you guys have seen the About Me video, but if you haven't, I lost both my parents when I was a child. I lost my mom when I was 14 and I lost my dad when I was 10. So I worked prior to my mom passing away. Even my dad passing away. I started working when I was 9. But on this specific company, I used to work for an alcohol center. Yes, like some Heidi Fleiss crap, some crazy stuff. But I mean, there was not prostitution, or at least, you know, it wasn't promoted or anything like that. But I did work for a stripper agency, and I used to be the one who used to book the shows. And I started doing it when I was 15, and I made a lot of money. I would just answer the calls and set up the appointments. That's all I did. I was not stripping or anything like that. But I used to be the highest seller. I would bank, on average, my paychecks probably every week was no less than $2,000. And I was a kid. So could you imagine $2,000 a week? I made buku bucks. But anyways, the way it would work was that I would make minimum wage and I would get a percentage off of every show that I sold. And what it is, you know, the girls would, you know, a gentleman or a female, didn't matter. They would call in, whether it was for a bachelor party or whatever the heck it was. They would call in and I would act as if I was a stripper. You know, I would say, oh, well, these are my measurements and I look like this and da-da-da, or whatever, right? Not phone sex, but you did get that. But anyways, so they would call in and then I would schedule it. I'd be like, okay, well, what's your dress, blah, 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 or whatever, you know, and I would schedule it. And then another dancer would go out. A dancer would go out and she would go strip, okay? So based off of that, I made minimum wage, like I said, and then I made a percentage on top of that. Well, I was like the top seller. I always, like, I was the highest gross, you know, and I would always exceed my commission. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but it was something stupid. Like, I'll give you an example. It was somewhere along the lines of I would make, I think, like $2.50 to $4.50, $2.50 to $4.50 for every 100 that I sold. So, you know, you figure it out, you do the math. This agency that I used to work for, they used to have like famous people all the time call in. So there was famous football players that would call and order strippers and whatnot, okay? So anyways, long story short, I'm getting rambling again. So I used to work, my regular shift was 4 to 10, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Or 4 to 12, I'm sorry. 4 p.m. to 12 midnight. And I would go to school and I would get out of school and literally I would head over there. And I would have to drive. It was kind of far away. I was in the Inland Empire. Pretty much I lived in Fontana and I would drive to San Dimas. It was Diamond Bar. I had to think about where it was at. It was in Diamond Bar. And so my regular schedule was always 4 to midnight. And I would go in for my 8-hour shifts. And during that 8-hour shifts, I would book however many, you know, there was like on call. There was like so many strippers on call. And on average, you know, I would probably book like 30 to 40 shows. You know, so it was pretty crazy. And so what ended up happening was, because I was the highest grossing, the title was booker. So since I was the highest grossing booker, the other bookers started complaining that I was on the best shift and that I was selling all these shows and making all this money, and it wasn't fair for them because they couldn't get their bonuses and they couldn't hit their commission, and they were complaining, right? So I was like, okay, fine, you could put me on the shittiest shift of them all and I will still exceed you guys. So the following week, I was scheduled to do midnight to 8 a.m. Okay. And I ended up swapping with the girl that was on at midnight. And so we swapped schedules, and on Thursday, she asked for me to change the schedule. She wanted to do her regular schedule of 12 to 8, and I was supposed to do the 4 to midnight schedule. That's kind of confusing. So she was supposed to do the overnight, and I was supposed to do like, what would it be like, considered like swing shift if you were to figure it out like that. So anyways, she asked me to change the schedule, and so I was like, well, I already have it. I don't know if I could deal with it. You know, like I had already screwed up my schedule on sleeping and whatnot. So I was like, I don't know if I could do this, but whatever. Let me see if I could do it, and I'll figure it out, and I'll let you know. So turns out that I was supposed to do it. I was gonna go ahead and switch back to my regular schedule. Okay. So to give you like the dynamic of this, we would run ads. The owner of the company would run ads, and he would run ads in like, I don't even think they're open, the magazine's still open, or maybe it is, I don't know. But like LA Express and Los Angeles Times and like Daily Bulletin, and you know, they would run ads in the newspaper. And so that's how we would get like our advertisement. You know, there was always, you know, people that were on business trips, men that were on business trips, whatever, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, so I end up switching back to my regular schedule for that Thursday. Well, the way it would work was like the bookers would get an hourly rate and they would get commission, like I told you guys. And then the dancers would get straight commission. And they had drivers / bouncers, and they would get commission based too. So the drivers would make about 10 to 15%. Actually, I think it was 15%, if I'm not mistaken. It was 15% that they would get out of the total dollar amount of the show that was sold. Okay. How the drivers would make more money and how the strippers would make more money is because they would, you know, don't want to say this, but there was strippers that would do extras or whatever the heck it is, right? So they would do extras and they would get tipped on top of that. And then based off of whatever they got as a tip, you know, then they would decide if they wanted to tip out their driver or not. So, you know, you could make a lot of money. Let's just put it that way. I mean, obviously the strippers were making buku bucks, but even like being like the booker, you know, and making the money, the kind of money that I made, you know, like I was a kid, I didn't know any better. I made so much money, it was crazy, you know, but whatever, it also exposed me to a lot of crap. So I end up switching schedules, and we have a driver that's favored, you know, like we have this driver that's always favored, and you know, he always, you know, all the dancers say that he's the best and he's very attentive, and they used to bring, you know, like, this is like so old school, but what it is that they would have baby monitors, and the girls would put the baby monitor inside their purse when they would go in to see the client, and it would be at a motel, it would be at their house, their apartment, their condo, wherever the heck it's at, sometimes their office. And so, you know, like we had favored drivers, you know, like they had favored drivers, you know, and sometimes the drivers would tip out the bookers as well. So, but there was a specific driver that was super favored, and everybody loved him. Everybody loved him. Okay. So yes, we did accept credit cards. The company did accept credit cards, but they also accept cash, and most of their profit was through cash. So we had a safe underneath the DM, which was the dispatch manager's desk. And so when a stripper would come in at the end of her shift and she had she did like 6, 10, however many shows that she did in one night, she had to do the money dropped in a contract. So it would kind of be like the contract that I wrote up, you know, and I set up the appointment with her, you know, she would have to give the money that was owed to the actual owner of the company. So whatever it was, if it was like $90 or $200, whatever it was, right? And then we would fold it inside the paper and we would drop it into a safe, you know, that was like, you know, you could drop it, you would drop the money. So that's what you would do. You know, you would say, okay, like this is what you owe, blah, 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 or whatever. And we would do that all the time, or we would combine them if she had like nothing but hundreds or whatever, she didn't have it, you know, that kind of thing. So anyways, the safe was never bolted down. The safe was never bolted down, you know, pretty much it was a heavy safe, but pretty much 2-3 guys could take it out. They could lift it up and they could take it out. So you could imagine like our office, you know, we had cameras there because obviously you're talking about a high volume of cash, you know, and whatnot. And so one of our favorite drivers, of course, mind you, we didn't know this at the time, but one of our drivers wanted to do like an inside job. And this is where it gets freaky. So I was scheduled to work the midnight shift, but I had switched it up because one of the girls said that she couldn't do it. Well, how to get to our office, it was old apartments that were turned into offices. And it was literally where the 60, if you're from Southern California, it's pretty much where the 60 and the 57 meet. That's where it was at. So you would go down, it was like off of Brea Canyon Road in Pathfinder, if you're familiar with that area. Anyways, you would go down a dead-end street and you would go down like a driveway, and that's where our offices were at, and we were on the first floor. Well, it was a garage, it was an apartment that was converted into an office, so we had like a sliding glass door, right? And our sliding glass door would never lock. It was broken. It would never lock. But because we were always, the business ran 24 hours a day, you know, there was no need for it to be locked, I guess you could say, right? But on the graveyard, on for the most part, it was always 2 females. It was a dispatch manager and a manager. And on my shift, my regular 4 to midnight shift, it was always myself and a guy. You know, the dispatch manager was a guy. So, but on the overnight, it was always 2 females. And I guess we never, I don't know, like you just don't think about it or whatever the heck it is. So anyways, we have cameras outside. So we know when people are coming down the driveway, right? And we have cameras like right outside our front door, you know? So we could see who's coming and like, oh, okay, you know, this dancer's here or whatever, you know, blah, 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 or whatever the heck it is, right? So we see a car coming down the hill, like down the driveway, and his lights are off, or their lights are off, whatever, you know, at the time, obviously we didn't know. So the lights were off. And so we're like, what the hell, you know, and it's dark, but we see somebody like come up really quick. Well, actually, I'm not there. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. The person that was in there for me, okay? So her name was Julie, okay? I'm not going to say her last name, obviously. But she's watching, and there's somebody, you know, they're like rushing down the driveway, you know? And so she's like, her and the other girl, which the dispatch manager's name was Maggie, they're both right there, and they're like, who is that? They don't know who it is, and they're freaking out. So they call 911, okay? And then they're like, we're here in an office. You know, they call the dispatch. They call 911. Well, 911 ends up hanging up on them. And then they call back again. And then they're like, we see him in the camera. They have ski masks because they could see him in the camera. And they had ski masks. They had like a mask, and they had like a crowbar or whatever the heck it is. And so they get disconnected again, right? So they're freaking out because they see that it's 2 gentlemen. They don't know what it is. They know the back door is not locked. There was really no, there was no pepper spray there. There was no, you know, there was no guns there. There was nothing there. Like, it was just literally them, you know, to fend for themselves, whatever they had, you know, personally. And so anyways, the police end up getting there, okay? Actually, let me go back. So what ends up happening is the girls end up yelling, "We already called the cops. The cops are going to be here any minute now." And so the guys are going around the building to go to the back, which there's a sliding glass door. Like I said, it wasn't a patio, but it was a sliding glass door, but it wouldn't lock. So the girls are freaking out and they're yelling, "We already called the cops," you know, and the front door, or the office front door, whatever you want to, it was an apartment. Like I said, it was kind of set where it would need to be buzzed in. You know, they had to unlock it with a clicker, you know, that was underneath the desk, you know, of the dispatch manager's office. So anyways, so they're yelling at them and the guys get spooked. So they get in their car and they go to try to take off. Well, when they're going to try to take off, the cops were already there, or already on their way, and it's only one way in and one way out. So if the cops were already on the street, they were going to pull them over. And pretty much that's exactly what happened. So they try to bail, and they jump in their car, and then they go, and they drive down the street, okay? Well, the cop was already down the street, so the cops stopped and pulled them over. Okay, now this is where it gets freakier. So the cops pull them over, or whatever the heck it is. The guys have masks. They have duct tape to tie the girls up. They had, they found in the back of the car, they had crowbars. They had duct tape to tie the girls up. And they had condoms. So pretty much what they were going to do was they were going to rape, myself and the dispatch manager, which at the time would have been my sister. So the cops stopped them. They pulled them over. You know, they arrested them and whatnot. And they ended up bringing the guys back into the office, or back to the office, so they could say, "Hey, was this the kind of car, blah, blah, blah," or whatever. Well, what ended up being was that it was one of our drivers. His name was Bruce. And that was the driver that was loved by everybody. And he was gonna go back there to, he was, their intentions were, him and the other guy, we didn't know the other guy, but their intentions were to rob the office because of the safe. And on any given day, the safe probably had 50, 60, at least $1,000 in there, the very least. More than likely it was over $100,000. And yeah, they were gonna rape my sister and myself. So he ended up going to jail, and we never heard from him after that. But yeah, so I stayed in that industry for quite some time, to be quite honest. I stayed after that, but just knowing that he was going back to the office to, essentially what he was going to do was, initially he was going to rob the office and rape my sister and myself. That was really fucking scary. That was pretty damn scary. And it just made us, I guess, open up our eyes more to like that industry, and you know, and what could happen, you know, just all the crazies, things that I seen as a kid, you know. Really, I was 15, you know, like I had no business being in that industry, but I was, you know. I did it to support myself because my parents had passed away and I needed to support myself, and it was damn good money. And yeah, so because I didn't go in that schedule and I switched my schedule because of that simple change that I did, or maybe my angels were watching over me, maybe my parents were watching over me, because of that saved me for not getting raped. And I'm thankful for it, and I think it's crazy, and you know, I know that that's not something to joke around about, but I'm so thankful that that didn't happen to me, and I'm so thankful that we were never put in that situation. And I feel so bad for the two girls that were put in that situation, because that's some traumatic crap right there. And nobody should have to go through that. And you would think that at your work, just like your home, you would feel safe. You would work with safe people and you think that you'd be safe. But in reality, you just never know, especially now. But I mean, like, yeah, that pretty much happened. So, and like I said, I didn't leave the industry. I stayed in the industry for a little bit longer. I did what I had to do to support myself, and eventually I did leave. But I have a zillion stories that I could tell you guys about this. So if you like these kind of videos, please give it a huge thumbs up and subscribe, or share with me your guys' crazy work stories. Maybe you guys have something that's pretty crazy. I could tell you guys so many more, especially in that industry. So if you like this kind of video, like I said, let me know. I have quite a bit of them. So I hope you enjoyed it and that you're having a great day or a night, whatever time you're watching this. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting me, and have a great day. Bye.